One of my friends advised me that I should speak the session number, which is 1919, the date, which is 13th of April 2024, and the page number, okay, the part is part 7, which is called the sevenfold veil, and we are reading page number 68. So this is what we'll be doing every time. And at the end of the session also, we'll be speaking the page number so that for those who wish to follow, they don't get lost. All right. So this is page 68.
As compared with dreams, the physical life is indeed a reality. Similarly, compared with the reality of the path, the world and all worldly life is vacant dreaming on the part of man. But as the world and all of its experiences are illusory, so is the spiritual path that leads to reality. The former may be termed false illusion, and the latter real illusion. Nevertheless, despite the vast difference between them, they are both illusions, for God alone is the only reality.
Yeah, I'll read this again. We've done this before, that a dream becomes a dream only upon waking up. In the same way, Baba says that whatever we are experiencing now is a false, vacant dream, the dreaming of the divine beloved. This is all a dream. But since we are in the dream, we don't consider this as a dream. Only when we wake up, we will realize that what Baba was saying was true, that this is all a dream. Baba talks about the false dream and the real dream. There is a false illusion and a real illusion. So Baba compares that with a person or all the beings in the gross world, those who have not entered the spiritual path, and those who have entered the spiritual path think that what we are now experiencing was a dream, and what they are experiencing is a reality. But in actuality, that also is a dream. So here Baba says, as compared with dreams, the physical life is indeed a reality. Similarly, compared with the reality of the path, that means the inner path, the spiritual path, the involutionary journey, similarly compared with the reality of the path, the world and all worldly life is vacant dreaming on the part of man. But as the world and all its experiences are illusory, so is the spiritual path that leads to reality. In other words, all the experiences of the spiritual path, howsoever lofty, howsoever attractive it may be, they are also a dream. The former may be termed false illusion. What we are now experiencing is a false illusion. And the latter, that means those who are experiencing the path, and the latter, the real illusion. Nevertheless, despite the vast difference between them, between what? Between the false illusion, what we are going through, and between what people on the spiritual path go through. There's a world in the involutionary journey. The Baba says, in spite of this vast difference, they are both illusions. For God alone is the only reality. Time and time again, Baba emphasizes, except for the experience of the Aham Brahmasmi state, I am God state, Anal Haq state, God realization state, all other experiences are in the domain of illusion. Baba is, so we should not be led astray if at all on the spiritual path we get some absolutely fantastic divine experiences, they are still in the domain of illusion. When knowledge
is gained, there's an asterisk, in the sense of wisdom rather than of worldly knowledge. by the editor, when knowledge is gained, ignorance is banished. But for ignorance to go, knowledge must be gained. On the one hand, God and the capacity of man to see and become one with God are always there. On the one hand,
On the other hand,
Baba, truth remains hidden from man until he actually arrives upon the path or realizes God. This apparent anomaly is due to two different factors: man's ignorance of truth and the fact that truth is beyond the faculty of reason and far, far above the sphere of intellect. The fact remains that man has become God, and man can become God for the simple reason that knowingly or unknowingly, man is God. Only so long as man's ignorance lasts will there seem to be no end to the plural diversity of illusory things. When divine knowledge is gained, he realizes that there is no end to the indivisible oneness of God. Under the illusion of cosmic duality, the apparent separation between man and God is invariably referred to by masters in terms of the intervenient
intervenient.
veil and curtain. Hafiz, who was a perfect master as well as a great poet, says, Moyana ashiko माशूक हिक होयाल निस्त तू खुद हिजाब खुदी हाफिज अज मियाँ बरखिस. There is no barrier between the lover and beloved. Hafiz, lift yourself aside. You are yourself the covering over self. Kabir, referring to the removal of the 7 folds of the veil, says, तेरे घूंघट के पट खोला तुझे राम मिलेगा. Open the folds of your veil and you shall find God.
Okay. Baba's beautiful saying is, when real light appears, this darkness which you think is light disappears. In other words, when real knowledge appears or dawns, this ignorance which we think is knowledge will disappear. It's only the knowing of the false as false will we be able to know the truth as truth. At the moment, we are all merrily enjoying in false and thinking that this is the truth. It's only when we really experience the truth, automatically falseness will fade away, it will just drop. So coming to the reading, when knowledge, in the sense of wisdom, when knowledge is gained, ignorance is banished. But for ignorance to go, knowledge must be gained. When Baba talks about knowledge, he talks about real experiential knowledge, not the worldly knowledge. The worldly knowledge Baba sometimes refers to as knowledge of ignorance. On the one hand, God and the capacity of man to see and become one with God are always there. That means it is the blueprint. It is on the drawing board. It has been already predestined at the time of creation itself that there is no creature which is not destined for the supreme goal, as there is no river which is not winding its way to the sea. Everyone and everything will finally end up in the experience of oneness with God. Whether you like it or not, want it or not, struggle not to get it, even then you will get it, because that is the whole plan, that is the whole idea, that is the whole purpose of creation. Creation is nothing but, you can say, a divine incubator in which the consciousness of the soul incubates and becomes perfect and becomes one with God. So coming back to the reading, on the other hand, truth remains hidden from man until he actually arrives upon the path or realizes God. This apparent anomaly is due to two different factors: man's ignorance of truth and the fact that truth is beyond the faculty of reason and far, far above the sphere of intellect. Time and time again, Baba says, that intellect is not destined to enter into the beloved's bedroom. Again, there's another one where it says, that love is all that is. And to have love, one must cross over the threshold of the intellect. Intellect is very important, not that it is not, but it itself becomes a barrier in order to cross over to the beloved. Because intellect is rational, intellect is logic, intellect is asking questions, whereas in terms of the path, in terms of the reality, only what matters is love. And love means there is no asking of questions. The moment you ask question, then you have not loved. Because love has no questions and it expects no answers. Please. Thank you. The fact remains that man has become God and man can become God for the simple reason that knowingly or unknowingly man is God. We had done that earlier, that what is a human being? A human being is nothing but God plus accumulated samskaras or impressions. It is only the impressions or samskaras which come as a block, as a kind of a bada, as a kind of a restriction for human beings to experience that I am God's state. In other words, Baba says that unknowingly or knowingly, man is God. Many people may not even believe in God. Some people say, I am an atheist. To them, Baba would say that in a sense, everyone is an atheist. You and I and everyone. Why? Because unless and until we experience God ourselves, we are simply believing in the existence of God. And belief and faith are drenched in ignorance. I believe it. Today I believe this, tomorrow I may believe something else. So belief and faith means I am ignorant. It's only when I experience God, in that sense Baba says, everyone is an atheist unless and until he or she actually experiences Godhood. On the other hand, Baba says, nobody is an atheist. No one is an atheist. And the logic or the explanation that Baba gives is, as long as you believe in the fact of your own existence, you say, I exist, you are indirectly giving testimony to existence of God, because God is nothing but existence, infinite and eternal. In other words, if you believe in your own existence, it means you are indirectly giving testimony to the existence of God, because whatever exists is nothing but God, existence. When Baba was once asked, that many people ask, who is Meher Baba, who is Meher Baba, what should we answer? There are different people answer, he's God in human form, he's the avatar, he's the highest of the high, he's the head of the spiritual hierarchy, and he's the Sahib-e-Zaman, and he's the Christ come again, etc., etc. Baba himself replied, tell them that I am the one who is provoking this question in you. That was the first sentence. And the second sentence, Baba said, I am the being, capital B, of all beings. That is, anything that exists, it cannot exist without the beingness of Baba or God in it. So that is how Baba had explained. only so long as man's ignorance lasts will there seem to be no end to the plural diversity of illusory things. Because God is one. When we say God is one, we are so attuned to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 that we may say God is one. Meher Baba says, I am God. Hazrat Baba said, Anal Haq, which means the same thing, I am that. Sai Baba says, I am God. So many others are proclaiming. So how can there be so many gods when we all believe that God is one? The answer to this is not one as a numeral one, but God is so uncompromisingly one that there is no other. In other words, everyone and everything is everyone and everything at the same time and for all time. That means there is only Advait, unity, oneness. God is. You see, and we are all in that big chamber of what is known as God is, infinite, unbounded, eternal. So in that sense, God is one, not in terms of numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4. He is so uncompromisingly one that anyone and everything is God actually. But because of the interference of samskaras, which brings about ignorance, which brings about plurality, that means diversity, that means you and I, that is the reason why we are not able to experience God. I'll repeat the last. Only so long as man's ignorance lasts will there seem to be no end to the plural diversity of illusory things. When divine knowledge is gained, he realizes that there is no end to the indivisible oneness of God. Extremely important to understand that God is not only infinite, unbounded, eternal, but he is also indivisible, cannot be divided. That means all the so-called apparent souls, or you can say drops in the ocean, are nothing but God himself, apparently separated by a bubble, which is the bubble of the mind, the bubble of illusion, the bubble of ignorance. So in reality, there is only one. Under the illusion of cosmic duality, this is cosmic duality. I would call it comic duality because it's so comical that although we are one with God, we don't experience that. The apparent separation, apparent, not real, the apparent separation between man and God is invariably referred to by masters in terms of intervenient veil or curtain. That is the chapter. And curtain. That is the chapter's name, the sevenfold veil. Hafiz, who was a perfect master as well as a great poet, says, I don't want to repeat Hafiz's words because I can't pronounce them and I don't want to hurt the feelings of those who would be really knowing this language. Persian. So I'll read only, I'll dare not disturb their peace of mind, so I'm going to read only the English part. Let Soumya read the other one. There is no barrier between the lover and the beloved. Hafiz, lift yourself aside. You are yourself the covering over self. That means we ourselves are the covering. Kabir, referring to the removal of the seven folds of the veil, says, Tere ghungat ke pat khola, tujhe Rama milega. Means open the folds of your veil and you shall find God. Ghungat is a, we know that ladies wear sari with ghungat. Before the start of this chapter, I had said, it's a little tricky because we'll be coming to the tricky portion now where we have to just let it go with whatever little limited understanding that we may have. Because according to me, this is something which is as you enter the spiritual path. Now we have not entered. So we are trying to so-called understand or analyze with finite gross mind that which is beyond the gross. So be what should I say, tolerant about what we may or may not be able to understand further.
The ghungat literally means the covering that a woman extends over her head and face in a number of folds. In spiritual parlance, it represents the heavy folds of ignorance that keep man hidden from his real identity. The lifting of it, fold by fold, corresponds to the stage by stage journey of a pilgrim from the first through the fifth plane of the divine path. The veil that separates a man in ignorance from God, who is all knowledge, is so subtle that even the highest and finest thought cannot pierce through it.
Baba himself says that thought cannot pierce through it. But we'll still experiment and see how much we can go inside.
This veil consists of 7 folds of 7 different deep colors. Each fold is tied with a separate knot, thus, there are 7 knots to the 7 folds. The 7 colors represent the 7 root desires corresponding to the 7 fundamental impressions, that is, lust, greed, anger, etc., connected with the 7 openings of sensation in the face, namely 1 mouth, 2 right nostril, 3 left nostril, 4 right ear, 5 left ear, 6 right eye, 7 left eye. In reality, and as the only reality, the soul is always God, without beginning and without end. False illusion begins with the descent of the soul in 7 material stages, and real illusion ends with the ascent of the soul to the 7th spiritual plane.
Now let's try to understand this as far as we can. The ghungat literally means the covering that a woman extends over her head and face in a number of folds. Very easy to understand. In spiritual parlance, it represents the heavy folds of ignorance that keep man hidden from his real identity. The lifting of it, that means lifting the fold, fold by fold. Lifting of the ignorance, yeah, fold by fold, corresponds to the stage by stage journey of a pilgrim from the first through the 5th plane of the divine path. Not the 6th, from the 1st to the 5th. Now, elsewhere, we had learned, we had seen, that when we enter the first plane, there are 2 physical, what we call as senses, which gets defunct, which do not function. One is the sense of touch, and the second is the sense of taste. You don't, because it will come to that, when we are reading further, we will realize that when the man enters the first path, then sense of taste, that means he enters through the mouth. So that could be you can say, we are just trying to visualize that when the spiritual path starts with the mouth, in a sense, that means he loses his sense of taste. And then it goes on to the nostrils. Baba had said that the first, as you enter the path, you lose these 2 senses. As you progress to the 2nd and 3rd plane, you lose your sense of smell. And smell and hearing, 2nd and 3rd. And then when you come to the 5th, gradually you lose your sight. That on the 6th, your sight is there. The 3rd eye, inner eye is there. And then finally, when you jump from the 6th to the 7th, even that goes away. So this is, again I am saying, it's a guesswork from what Baba had said earlier. Elsewhere, Baba had said that as you are coming closer to the path, Baba used to sometimes say, Hawa, breeze, you get to hear what is known as tinkling of the bell. We call it caravan or caravan, like camels would go and they will be having huge bells. So as you are nearing the path, you will hear the bells. As you enter the first plane, then the first of the deep color, that is lust. Basically, again, it's my understanding, lust has a direct connection with samvedna, the flesh, the skin, because the skin is the largest organ, and that is what the skin conveys the sensation of pleasure or pain to the mind. So that goes, and then you enter the first plane, which is the mouth, so your sense of taste goes. As you enter the second and third, as we said, the smell and the hearing goes, and as you, we'll come to that. So this is my way of thinking. It could be totally wrong, but I'm just, because Baba has nowhere explained. So again, reading this, the veil that separates a man in ignorance from God, who is all knowledge, is so subtle, the veil is so, that even the highest and the finest thought cannot penetrate through it. So in other words, Baba is trying to convey to us that with the infinite mind, do not try to analyze or understand the infinite. Mind wants to know that which is beyond mind. For mind to know that which is beyond mind, mind has to go. Mind has to leave space. Mind has to just surrender. In other words, manonash, we call it manonash, annihilation of the mind. Only then, perhaps, with the heart, with the love, with total surrenderance, total obedience, we may be able to move further. This veil consists of 7 folds of 7 different deep colors. Baba has said that the colors of the rainbow, or for that matter, color of the flag, Baba's flag, they have significance. At some places, Baba had said, at most places, Baba had said that red deep color, deep red, which is the bottom of the flag. You know, it's the other way around. In the rainbow, you see the red on the top, but in Baba's flag, the red is in the bottom. Those are harsh, coarse, you can say impressions or samskaras of lust, of anger. So that is what Baba had said. And in the arrangement of the flag, Baba had said, keep the red at the bottom and the blue, the sky blue, at the top, because that covers sky is infinite that way. At certain other places, Baba had emphasized the color green to be spiritually most, spiritual. At some other places, Baba had said about purple or violet, we call it, mauve color, which is a spiritual color. But we won't get into that part because that is not the subject matter right now. Now, when the colors are deep, that means there is an action involved in it. Now, Baba here says, see, now I'll tell you, the 7 colors represent 7 root desires, corresponding to the 7 fundamental impressions. And Baba is so smart, he has said only 3, lust, greed and anger, and left it to us. Now you decide what is the other. So Soumya and I, we were just, now so that means we will only go by what Baba has said, but I'm just adding something to it. So what is kama, krodha? Kama is lust or passion. Krodha is anger. Lobha is greed or avarice. Mada is egoism or falseness. Moha is attachment. Matsarya is jealousy. And alasya is laziness. These could, I am putting a rider there, don't hold me. This could be the 7, what Baba calls about fundamental impressions, because Baba only gave lust, greed, anger, etc. So these could be the ones which we have to cross over. Only when we are able to cross over this, we can enter the spiritual path. In terms of colors elsewhere, because we read a lot of Baba books, elsewhere Baba said when we talk about deep colors, that means they are very, very deep, very stool, very gross, very ingrained. That means there is an action involved in it. But if it is only thinking, but not putting it into action, the color would be there, but they would be light colors. So that is what Baba has explained elsewhere again. Okay. Now, this veil consists of 7 folds of 7 different deep colors. Each fold is tied with a separate knot. That means there is a fold and there is a knot. There is a fold and there is a knot. Just as we had done in evolution, there is a knot. You know, there is a twist and there is a knot. There is a twist and there is a knot. Stone, metal, minerals, etc., etc. And this knot would be unwound when we enter into the spiritual path, first plane, second plane, onwards. Winding, unwinding. Somewhat similar, Baba says that these folds, each fold has a knot. The 7 colors represent, okay, that is done. Oh, root desires corresponding to the 7 fundamental desires. Okay, now Baba says, connected with the 7 openings of the sensations in the face. Now here comes the openings, which, as I said, we'll just guess. That means, in other words, these openings have such deep significance, but we will get to know of it only when we are traversing the spiritual path. I can only say one person, I won't name, who had told me that she had experienced like going through one nostril, coming out from the nostril, going through this. So maybe that is the experience of that person, and maybe actually it is happening. But unless we reach that place, we have to just intellectually understand what it is all about. So now what are the openings? One is the mouth. The second is the right nostril. Third is the left nostril. Right ear, left ear, right eye, left eye. So these are the 7 openings connected with what you can say is as traversing the spiritual path. In reality, and as the only reality, the soul is always God. When we talk about the soul, is always God, without beginning and without end. Soul is without beginning and without end. False illusion begins with the descent of the soul in 7 material stages that we have seen. Stone, metal, minerals, vegetables, worms. Worms, sometimes Baba talks about worms, sometimes Baba talks reptiles, sometimes Baba talks insects. It's the same thing. Fish, bird, animal, human beings. Okay? And real illusion ends. What is real illusion? The illusion which the pilgrims experience at the time of treading the spiritual path. This is false illusion, what we are going through. Unless somebody is on the path, I don't know. So this is false illusion. And real illusion ends with the ascent of the soul to the 7th spiritual plane. The real illusion will end, and then you will experience the I am God state. So far, so good. Any questions? No question. Be assured, I won't be able to answer. All right.
God is a macrocosm, God is a microcosm, and God is also always beyond both. Knowingly, man is body and man is mind, but unknowingly, as in deep sleep, man is also beyond both.
So Baba talks about macrocosm, microcosm, man is body, man is mind, but when we are in sound sleep state, we are beyond the body and the mind. At that time, I don't experience my body, I don't experience my mind. That means in reality, I am that so-called nothingness, the so-called sound sleep state. That is the reality. The only difference is that when I go into sound sleep state or deep sleep state, I lose my consciousness. If I am conscious in my sound sleep state, that is equivalent to God realization. That is what Baba said.
Analogically, it is true that man is made in the image of God. The top of his head represents the Vijnan Bhumika.
This is what we also call as the crown chakra, in terms top of the head, Vijnan Bhumika.
Arshe Ala, the highest spiritual state or the state of Brahman. The forehead corresponds to the entrance to divinity. The center of the forehead, just above the two external eyes, is the seat of the inner or third eye. When the veil with all its 7 folds is finally removed, man is then able, through the third eye, to see God face to face and sees Him more actually and naturally than what he is ordinarily able to see of his body and the world through the two external eyes. In order to arrive at the divine entrance situated in the forehead, man has to pass through the 7 doors as represented by the 7 physical openings in the face.
In other words, it's a travel from the mouth to the true nostrils, to the true ears, to the two eyes, and then you come over here, and through the third eye or the inner eye, you are able to see God more profoundly, more clearly than what we are able to now see each other and the world. What is that? It's an experiential thing I cannot explain. So that is what Baba is trying to. But you can only reach through the 7 openings.
When an initiate succeeds in actually entering the divine path, it is for him a single 7-in-1 achievement, and it applies to the first of the 7 folds of the veil. Namely,
7-in-1 achievement means the moment you enter the first plane, you do away with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, which Swami will now read.
namely 1. Unfastening of the first knot. 2. Disappearance of the first fold. 3. Crushing out of the first root desires.
That could be lust, that could be.
4. Wiping out of the relative fundamental impressions. 5. Doing away with the first of the 7 deep dark colors. 6. Entrance through the first door as represented by the mouth.
Entrance through the first door, that means the mouth. And 7.
And 7. Arriving on the first plane in the subtle sphere, the Prana Bhuvan or the Alam-e-Malakut. We've got to go to the... Shall I go?
5 spears. Yeah, I think we'll require that. The 5 spears. Okay. So now, Baba says that
Page 228.
okay, now we are jumping to page number 228, supplement number 15, 1-5. There is a diagram over here, and there's a loose page with Farzeen. She may circulate, or you can just come a little closer. But of course, we may not require the diagram just now, but anyway, go ahead.
The 5 spears...
Sorry. I'll just give an overview so that it becomes a little easier to understand. We have got 7 planes of consciousness, of which 6 are in the domain of illusion, and the 7th is the reality. Now Baba talks about spheres. There are 5 spheres. One sphere we know gross. The other sphere we know subtle. The third sphere we know mental. These are the 3 spheres in illusion. There is a 4th sphere which is known as the composite sphere, which is also in illusion. And then there is a 5th sphere, which is the real sphere, the reality, which is equivalent to the 7th plane of consciousness. Now, what comprises of this composite sphere? What is the composition of this composite sphere? Baba says, between the gross and the subtle, there are 7 layers, 7 sheets, right? They are the lower sphere. Between the subtle and the mental, you will see the chart, there are which is the middle one. Those are the middle sphere. And between the mental and the real, which is the higher sphere. Now that means there are 7, 7, 7, which means 21. So 21 of these sheets or spheres make one composite sphere. Simple. It's not so difficult that way. So, then Baba goes on to say, it will come to that. When we die, where do we go? We don't remain in the gross. Obviously not. The gross body is gone. We don't go to the subtle. because I have not yet graduated to become a subtle conscious human being. So I hang around one of these seven spheres, which is known as the astral world or the semi-subtle world, where disembodied souls pass their time experiencing either the state of heaven or hell, and once they are ready, they reincarnate. So that I just gave you an idea so that when we read, it would be very easy for you to follow. Go ahead.
The five spheres described by Meher Baba. Supplement 50. Meher Baba says there are five spheres: 1 gross, 2 subtle, 3 mental, 4 composite, and 5 real. The first 4 concern relative existence, and the fifth one is composed of the one and only real existence.
Relative existence means they are not real existence. They are in the domain of duality, they are in the domain of illusion. They are actually not existent. They are hawame, in a sense. They are in duality.
The question of details is all the more important when a subject is beyond ordinary human experience. On the one hand, more details confuse one more, and less details explain things less.
So he has already given that disclaimer kind of thing, that if I try to explain more, it will confuse you. If I give less, then you won't be able to understand properly. But I think the crowd here is understanding very beautifully well.
This gives rise to a variety of terms and expressions for use from different viewpoints and in different contexts. In the absence of underlying experience, descriptions of the same one thing often sound contradictory.
So here Baba is emphasizing on the experience. Without experience, 5 different people are talking about something which they have not experienced, so they will create a kind of diversity or confusion because nobody has experienced that.
But in the light of relative experiences or the final realization of truth, the very contradictions prove to be complementary expressions about the same one truth. The fact of facts underlying the 5 spheres will bear this out. The first, the gross sphere, although entirely depending for its existence on the subtle, is distinctly different in very many respects from the subtle. The gross sphere...
So we have, I think I'll be repeating, but never mind. There is a gross sphere, which is entirely different from the subtle sphere. You can't imagine, in gross, you cannot imagine what is subtle. When you go in subtle, the gross does not exist for you. So there is no question of matadukan. You don't have to break your head as to what is gross because it is gone. It's a shadow. It has gone. Similarly between subtle and mental. Similarly between mental and real or God, whatever it is. So Baba says here, the gross sphere, although entirely depending for its existence on the subtle, we had done that earlier. I think I keep repeating that if you go to Mehrazad, there are 4 glasses, I'm sure you must have seen, where God, mental, subtle, gross. The gross is dependent upon the subtle. The subtle is independent of the gross, but dependent upon the mental. The mental is independent of the subtle and the gross, but is dependent upon God. And God is independent of all 3, mental, subtle, and gross, and it is independent. All these 3 glasses, the gross, subtle, and mental, they go one in each other, and finally they all merge into God. So in other words, all these spheres are not out of God, they are within God. Everyone and everything is within God. Go ahead, Swami.
The gross sphere consists of numberless worlds, suns, moons, stars, and in fact, everything material from the crudest to the finest.
Imagine everything. It is not just our earth or our solar system. It is everything, all the galaxies, all the whatever you call it. There are millions and millions of stars and suns and moons and galaxies and Milky Way and black hole and whatever you call it, they are all gross.
Some of the worlds in the gross sphere contain minerals and vegetation only. Some others contain countless embodied beings also, and in some there are included human beings.
That means there are gross spheres, planes, where even human beings exist. There's a footnote later on, we'll read that.
The point of prime importance in the gross sphere is our world, Earth. Here, amongst all other beings who are conscious in greater or lesser degree of the gross, man, with his full consciousness, is superior to all other beings of all gross worlds. But
There's an
until,
asterisk there. Okay. Okay. Read.
but until man here awakens to the subtle, his full consciousness remains fully occupied with the gross, even when he reads and thinks of spiritual subjects such as the one discussed here.
Just because we are discussing, deeply contemplating on spiritual subjects as we are doing now, it doesn't mean that we have become, subtle conscious or spiritual. It's in spite of the fact that we may be discussing, debating, arguing, fighting, whatever it is, spiritual subjects, we are still gross.
Asterisk reads, this means also superior spiritually amongst all human beings of the gross sphere. Meher Baba tells us that of the three worlds in the gross sphere which are inhabited by human beings, ours, the earth, is one where man is the highest spiritually. He explains that whereas man on this earth possesses in his personality equal degrees of head and heart, 50% head and 50% heart, man on the other two worlds possesses 100% head and 75% head and 25% heart, respectively. Man, in the course of his reincarnations, is born on any one of the three worlds, but must finally take form and reincarnate on this earth to fulfill his divine destiny, which is God realization. In the gross sphere, the earth is the last and nearest stepping stone to the path. The two other worlds are most close to the earth in the pattern of habitation. Altogether, there are 18,000 worlds with life, but these two worlds and the earth are akin to one another in the pattern of human life.
So what Baba is trying to say, that gross means millions of suns, stars, planets, whatever worlds, whatever it is. But our earth is most supreme in spirituality. It is only on earth that the avatar comes. It is only on earth that perfect masters are there. It is only on earth that the inner spiritual path, the path to God realization is there. And it is only from earth that a man can achieve God realization or mukti or moksha or liberation. So earth is a very important aspect in terms of spirituality compared to millions of worlds that are there. In this book, Baba says, and I want to go by that, there are 18,000 worlds where life exists. Life in the sense of could be vegetation, could be some other beings but not human beings, could be gases, could be air, whatever. But there are three worlds where human beings exist. Amongst these three worlds, one is ours, which is the earth. On one world, they have 100% intellect and no feelings, no heart, only the mind. In the other one, there is 75% intellect, 25% the feelings or heart or love or whatever you call it. It is only on earth where there is a balance of the head and the heart, which is 50-50%, and that is why it is considered to be most spiritual out of the three worlds where human beings exist.
The second, the subtle sphere, is the sphere of energy, and although it is divided into 7 divisions, it is one world by itself. Its subsistence depends upon the mental sphere.
That means subtle is dependent upon the mental. But
Its subsistence depends upon the mental sphere, but it exists entirely independent of the gross sphere. In the parlance of time and space, the domain of the gross sphere, with its infinite space comprising universes of innumerable suns, planets, and worlds, including our Earth, is but a speck as compared with the subtle sphere.
that means compared to the subtle sphere, all these millions of suns, just a speck. It is beyond our imagination as to how big, the universe is.
The path of self-realization, the Raha-e-Tariqat of the Sufis and the Adhyatmic Marga of the Vedantists consists of 7 planes, mukams or sthans, is the one and only bridge between the first sphere of the gross and the fifth, the real sphere. The path has its first 3 planes in the subtle, the second sphere.
So, if you see the sphere, the second sphere is the subtle sphere where Baba talks about 3 planes of consciousness, the first, second, and the third. As I had said earlier, at some places Baba would take the fourth as a subtle sphere, at some places Baba would use the fourth as a threshold between the third and the fifth.
The subtle sphere, through its energy, its angels, and above all, through man's partial and full subtle consciousness, human consciousness, partly or fully freed from the gross in the gross, while penetrating the gross sphere itself, also penetrates infinite space with its suns, stars, planets, and in fact, everything and every being in all the worlds within the gross sphere.
Let me read this again. The subtle sphere, through its energy, subtle sphere we say urja, we also call it shukshma, which is energy, that is why all the power, all the riddhi siddhi is in the subtle sphere, in the first 3 planes of consciousness, including of course the fourth plane which is full of power, divine powers. Energy, it's angels. Now your Baba is bringing about angels. What are angels? We'll read about that later on. Angels are unembodied souls. That means they have never taken a physical body. They have never been contaminated. Baba uses the word contaminated with the gross body. Angels, and above all, through man's partial and full subtle consciousness, sometimes when a man is just going through gross into the subtle, he may be able to sense the subtle spheres through his gross senses. So it is only partial, not complete. Partial or full subtle consciousness, human consciousness, partly or fully freed from gross in the gross, while penetrating the gross sphere itself, also penetrates infinite space with its sun, stars, planets, and in fact everything and every being in all the worlds within the gross sphere. So in other words, if I understand it correctly, in the subtle sphere, as you are about to enter the subtle sphere, the man with his gross senses still there can penetrate into all these aspects.
The unlimited diversity and intensity of subtle sights, sounds, feelings, and powers have no parallel in the gross sphere.
That means you can't even imagine, they are not a different in degrees, they are a different in kind. So in no way can we understand with our gross senses what happens in the subtle sphere. The sight, the sound, the taste, the touch is totally different.
Taste. Okay.
You can taste with the subtle sphere.
Save energy which becomes limited within the bounds of the gross and human consciousness which is surrounded by gross limitations. The third, the mental sphere, is a sphere of the spheres. It is absolutely independent of both the subtle and gross spheres and is independently sustained by divinity.
Divinity means God, the real sphere.
The mental sphere is the very abode of mind, individual, collective, and universal. The mind pervades its own sphere as much as it does throughout the subtle and gross spheres.
That means once you are in the mental bhumi or mano bhumika, mental world, then you can penetrate not only everybody who is mental, but also everybody who is subtle and everybody who is gross.
This sphere of the mind includes everything relating to intellect, intuition, insight, and illumination. Herein are also contained the loftier planes of the path, the fifth and the sixth.
That we have seen that the mental world have got two planes, the fifth and the sixth. The fifth is called a Vali, friend of God. The sixth is called the Peer. On the fifth also you can have a sense of, you know that God exists, but you don't see God face to face. On the sixth, he is known as a Satpurush, and the fifth one is also called Mahapurush. On the sixth you can see God. Seeing means, because now this is a little again we can't understand, the sixth plane is the plane of feeling. And Baba writes in God Speaks that the sixth planer, who is a peer, has the feeling of seeing God in everyone and everything, but he also experiences that he is separate from God. He is not yet one with God.
Nevertheless, the mental sphere does not and cannot touch the real sphere, as nothing can touch it save its own reality, conscious of itself in the eternal I am God state of God.
That means in spite of the fact that the sixth plane or the mental sphere is so close to God, yet it cannot touch God. In one sense, it is close to God. In the other sense, the experience of the peer is that there is a deep abyss or a deep valley from where he has to jump from duality to oneness, Dvaita to Advait, ignorance to knowledge, darkness to light. That way, So that is a deep jump, and sometimes he is frightened to jump that. It's a huge thing. Elsewhere, Baba had explained that you can make it on your own also, which is very, very, very difficult and dangerous without a master. You can go from the ground floor of your building till the top of your building, till the terrace, howsoever high it may be, 4-story or 40-story. From the terrace, now you are supposed to jump into the sky. So that is the deep abyss, how difficult it is to do that without the intervention, without the help of a living perfect master or the avatar who is the eternal living perfect master. Oh yes, sure. Mike. Yes. No, I am talking from 6th to 7th. Not from 4th to 5th. 4th to 5th, you can go with great difficulty. I can't go even in the first. But from 4th to 5th, you can go. But 6 to 7 is something impossible. It is not something, it is impossible on your own. It is impossible. Highly or lowly, it is impossible. No one has achieved it all by itself except the very first soul, which is Baba himself, which is the avatar. on his own. Yes. Everybody needs a
Not
living
the
perfect
avatar,
master.
the first one, Shiva.
Ah, Baba.
Not the avatar.
Now don't
Avatar
get up
is
into
one-
Shiva and.
No, the
Our-
first one who did it. Okay, I'm not putting labels. The first one. When you say avatar, the avatar also has 5 perfect masters. So don't say avatar.
Soumya.
The first one who made it by
Soumya,
himself.
Soumya. When the avatar made it, when he made the
He-
first soul,
The first soul.
when he reincarnates,
Avatar.
correct.
5 perfect masters were there.
How can there be 5
There-
perfect masters?
nothing in the everything says
No,
it.
no. Okay, we are not going into that. Cannot be because he is the first one who made it. It is. Anyway, we don't want to digress into that. Well, you got the answer. Fine, thank you.
But nothing in the everything says it.
घर में जाके.
The fourth, the composite sphere is
Now this is important. The fourth is the composite sphere. First, second, third we understand. Gross, subtle, mental, real we understand. Now this is the composite sphere. Okay.
the composite sphere is the most named and the least understood one.
But now we'll understand.
It is composed of 21 subspheres, and as such, it is both a sphere and not a sphere by itself.
Correct.
The 21 connecting links are made up of 7 sub-gross and sub-subtle spheres between the gross and the subtle spheres, 7 sub-subtle and sub-mental spheres.
Are you seeing the graph over there? What are these sub-subtle spheres? They are the go-between spheres between the gross and the subtle and the mental and the real. 7, 7, 7. Go ahead.
7 sub-subtle and sub-mental spheres between the subtle and the mental spheres, and 7 sub-mental and supramental spheres between the mental sphere and the real sphere.
I think it's fairly understandable. Between the gross and the subtle, there are 7 sub-subtle spheres which are supposedly low. Then between the subtle and the mental, again there are 7 sub-mental, what is it called? Submental. In other words, 7, 7, 7. And the last one again is between the mental and the
the real.
supramental or the real.
Yes.
We are known as supramental. Okay.
The peculiar nature and position of the composite sphere should be grasped.
Could be.
Could be grasped more easily through either of the following tables.
So if you see the table, number 1 is gross. Then there are 7 lower sub-subtle spheres. Then there is subtle. Then the composite, I mean. Then there are 7 middle. And then there is third, which is mental. Again 7 higher. And then the fifth one is real. So what is the composite sphere? It is consisting of 21 subspheres. 7, 7, 7. Again, table 2 more or less the same thing, but Soumya will read through. Sorry?
Lower is between the gross and the subtle.
Can you see on the chart? Lower. See, gross, can you see the chart? There is gross, then there are subtle subspheres, 7, and they are known as lower
because
subsubtle.
it is between the
Gross and the subtle. That's why they are known as lower,
composite.
middle, higher.
If you look at the chart,
Can
it'll
you
be
see
easy.
the chart? These are subspheres
You may
and
think
they're lower,
because it's on
middle.
top, you're saying how can be lower?
No. Actually, we are going from gross to subtle to mental. If you see the chart,
Yes, I have seen
Ah.
this.
There
But,
are-
but I'm just trying to understand the lower. What is the meaning of this? Because from gross body to
but
you
actually,
upgrade yourself or you go up.
That explanation will come.
Ah.
That these lower subspheres are higher than the gross.
Yes.
They are, but
Yes.
in terms of the composite sphere, they are
Okay.
known as lower, middle, and higher.
Just to understand.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Nothing else.
Yeah, but as you are saying is correct. These subspheres, which are between the lower and the subtle, are actually higher
Higher.
than the gross.
Yes.
Agreed.
But they are lower composite spheres.
Yeah, okay. Now you read
Thank
the
you.
Table 2, the gross sphere, first sphere, 7 lower subspheres of 4, the composite, because 4, if you see
4
the
means
chart,
composite.
if you see the chart, then
I
it
think it's
becomes
very clear, very simple.
4, the
to
composite sphere, fourth sphere, second, the subtle sphere, second sphere, 7 middle subspheres of
Again 4,
4
the composite sphere, which is the fourth sphere.
3, the mental sphere, the third sphere, 7 higher subspheres of 4, the composite spheres, fourth sphere. 5th, the real sphere, fifth sphere.
That is independent. Am I clear about this?
Baba,
Very
given
simple.
words to the
Yeah, very clear.
chart. Huh?
All right, go ahead.
The 7 lower subspheres are spiritually
See, here you get the answer. The 7 lower subspheres
Are
are spiritually superior to the gross sphere.
and they do not, sorry, Baba, they do touch the gross, whereas the 7 higher subspheres are neither spiritually superior to the mental sphere, nor can they ever touch the real sphere, as will be clear from further details which follow.
All right. So, any questions so far? No. Very
Yeah.
Hushar. Yeah, please go ahead. Mike, take the mic, please. Mic. For people who are online, they will not be able to hear the question.
How does an individual know that he or she is in which sphere?
In which sphere?
Whether you are on the path,
Which sphere?
Yeah.
which sphere? I
Yeah.
fear I can't answer that
I
question
fear I can't answer.
because, anyway. See, basically, all this pertains to the inner spiritual path, which is the involutionary journey. According to my limited understanding of things, we are all in the gross world, and therefore we are not in the path itself. Forget about the composite sphere. So we cannot experientially understand and explain what is the experience of the subtle plane or mental plane or the composite sphere. If you are asking me, how do we know? We cannot know until we actually reach there and go. Then we realize that yes, I am in the subtle or I am in the mental. Have I addressed your question?
Composite spheres.
The composite sphere is not a sphere actually. That's what Baba says.
reside
In a
when you
sense,
drop
it's a
your
sphere.
body.
In a sense, no. In a sense, it's a sphere. In a sense, it is not a sphere because it is neither subtle nor mental. It is only the sheets in between the gross and the subtle. So these are the places where the angels stay and where when we die, we go into that state and stay there. Or the archangels stay between the mental and the real, the subtle and the mental, right? Or, see, I shouldn't be saying it, there's a book written where there is something, laws are given of the spirituality. And in my limited understanding of things, it is written over there, the 7 sheets between the gross and the subtle, it has been mistaken as the 7 planes. You see, 7 planes are totally different. In the book, it is mentioned that somebody is on the 5th plane or 5th level or 6th level or 7th level. It is not the 5th, 6th and 7th planes which Baba is explaining in the involutionary journey. It is the 7th or the 6th or the 5th sheet, SHEAT, of the subsubtle, of the composite sphere, the lower composite sphere. Because unless you read it, you may not be able to follow. These are layers. These are layers.
Layers and not the planes or asmas.
And that's why they are not on
That's
the
a
planes.
different subject altogether.
That is what I'm saying. You see, between the subtle and the mental, between the gross and the subtle, there are 7 layers. In those 7 layers, we fix ourselves based on whether I want to experience, heaven or hell, that kind of thing. Now, in that book, they have mentioned it as planes, at plane. So that, my limited understanding says, that's a wrong interpretation. That's not a correct interpretation. Yeah.
In Quran and in Bible, there is a concept of archangels like Gabriel.
It's
so
there.
It's there.
It's there.
It's
there.
the same
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. In Sufi terminology, they have a different name. But even archangels and angels, in one way, they are superior to us. They are basically, what should I say? I want to use not a correct word, Man Friday. Man Friday, you understand, of God. So they would do God's job, they would run about, do things and all that. Automatically they know what to do, they know what will please God, and they will do it even without God ordering them to do it. That's one thing. But in a sense, man is superior to angels and even archangels, because angels and archangels cannot see God, which a peer can do, and angels and archangels cannot become one with God unless and until they incarnate. And in their very first incarnation, they realize God. So that is what but this is, we are not come to that. So when we read, we'll read. Yeah. Mayor Jyoti has a question.
So these are the stages after the death, the soul journey to the God. So when the rebirth, after the God meeting, or what is that? I don't understand it.
I don't understand the question. But if you have met
These are
God,
the
if you have met God in a sense of becoming one with God, in the sense of having achieved God realization or mukti, then such a soul does not come back again.
So the soul has not going all these the sevens, lower, higher, and all these directly went. It's a
Are you talking about the angels, archangels?
no.
Composite.
Soul. Once
Composite?
the person has, these are the stages you are saying the soul journey. Once the person died and the soul journey is there.
Ah,
Okay. So if the soul has not get the God realization.
correct. You come back.
If the rebirth is there.
Yes,
So the
reincarnate.
meeting the God and then the rebirth is there, or
No, there's
which
no-
stage is the rebirth?
No, you
No,
don't
no.
meet God.
See, when,
He'll spend you-
okay.
As
Maybe,
per- as
see,
per your
I
the-
must have died a million times, but I don't have the memory whether in my so-called disincarnate, क्या बोलता है, disincarnate state, how many times, whether or not I have met God or not, but that is not realization. For all you know, maybe God may be taking a round, of inspection in heaven and hell and meeting everybody, hi, shake hands, hi, I am Mr. God, like that. Maybe, I don't know. But it does not mean that you will not come back again. As long as the samskaras or impressions are there, you will keep reincarnating again and again. The only shortcut which I always emphasize is remember his name when we breathe our last. When we remember him with all our heart at the time of breathing last, it is Baba's promise that such a soul will come to me, and come to me would mean that soul will experience infinite bliss eternally and freed from the rounds of birth and death. Other than that, I don't know. Of course, God realization path is there, but this is a simpler way of not wanting to come down. So you want to come or you don't want to come?
Don't come.
All right.
Thank
you. Welcome.
On the one hand, the all-important path,
Okay. Sorry. On the one hand,
the all-important path, the one and only bridge between man and God, runs through the two spheres of the subtle and the mental. And on the other hand, there are innumerable things and beings in these two spheres, as well as in between the 7 lower and 7 higher subspheres, and each one of the things and beings is directly or indirectly vital to the path.
that means there is not just the subtle and the mental sphere. This is the path. From gross, on the gross, there is no path. The path starts from the first plane of consciousness, which is the subtle plane. So if you call Raha a tariqat, or the involutionary journey, or the spiritual path, then, or what is the other name is there? Anyway, Vedantic term is there. So that path starts from the first plane of God. Adhyatmik Marga, which is the spiritual path. It starts from the first plane of consciousness. So that means the path is subtle, mental, and then real. But Baba says there are innumerable things, innumerable beings, not only on these planes, which is the subtle and the mental, but also within the subspheres, which forms the composite zone or composite sphere.
From the 7 lower to the 7 middle subspheres, inclusive of the subtle sphere, amongst other things, there are the abodes of the disembodied souls, spirits, and the unembodied souls, angels. From the 7 middle to the 7 higher subspheres, inclusive of the mental sphere, amongst other things, there is the abode of the archangels.
So now we know the residential address of the angels and the archangels. They don't need to have an Aadhar. Here, what does it say? From the 7 lower to the 7 middle subspheres, inclusive of the subtle sphere. Amongst other things, mean there are many other things. Amongst other things, there are the abodes of the disembodied souls, spirits. Disembodied souls means those souls who have dropped their physical bodies without realizing God or without achieving mukti. Right? So they are known as disembodied. The body has been dropped. Disembodied souls. So they are there in those areas. Right? And unembodied souls. Unembodied means never embodied, never got a body, which are known as the angels. Between the first, the lower wala. Now, from the 7 middle to the 7 higher subsphere, inclusive of the mental sphere, like that how it was inclusive of the subsphere, a subtle sphere, here inclusive of the mental sphere, amongst other things, there is the abode of the archangels. So the archangels live in these subspheres. The spirits.
The spirits, disembodied souls, both good and bad, have to remain in the state of waiting both before and after experiencing the states of pleasure and pain, states commonly known as heaven and hell.
So now, the moment our body is dropped, Baba says that the soul or the spirit continues to have some attachment, some connection with the body, with the surrounding, with the place where the death takes place for a couple of days, 2, 3, 4 days. Beyond 4 days, generally the spirit does not remain connected. That is the reason why the prayers in all the different religions for the first 3 or 4 days helps the spirit to dissociate itself, to go away from this zone into the other realm. Right? Now, Baba says, that is the reason why crying, weeping, wailing, beating yourself up during these 3-4 days is detrimental to the soul. The soul feels very disturbed because by and large, I am digressing, when do we die? Mostly, when the samskaras which we have brought for experiencing, for expanding, for utilizing in this body, when those samskaras are over, the body drops. I may be in India, I may be in America, I may be in Australia, I may be in a jungle. When the money is over, it is something like I'm just digressing as I said, coming with a return ticket, prepaid, which has got, it is not prepaid, it is like, what should I say? There are these tickets which are already loaded with money. Every time you use a bus or a train or a tram, you have to pass it through the machine and it will keep on deducting, deducting, deducting. Once it is zero, then you can't travel. But here, when it comes to zero, there is also a return ticket. So the moment it becomes zero, you return to where you came from. As simple as that. So nobody just dies for whatever, oh, he died with cancer or heart trouble or what. There has to be some reason. But this is my understanding that normally, that's what Baba says in discourses, for a normal human being, when all these samskaras which he or she has brought for expansion to spend, for spending, for utilizing, like the expanding, like that game of or Uno, whatever it may be. You throw the cards, and the one who has thrown all the cards, finish, no cards in my hand, I am the winner. So in the same way, we are supposed to throw all our samskaras. But in the process of throwing the card, we also sometimes pick up the card. So that is the meaning of samskaras being spent and also accumulated. But accumulation will take what should I say? The spending of those samskaras will take place partly in the state of heaven or hell and partly when we reincarnate. I hope I am making myself clear. So here what is happening is, I am spending. The only exception could be, or maybe two exceptions to my mind would be, one is an accident which is not preordained in the destiny. Now we are going into deeper waters. If an accident takes place, Baba says that that soul can reincarnate immediately, very fast. That means within a period of, say, 4 days, that soul can come back to life. The other exception is suicide. When somebody commits suicide, which is the most terrible thing to do, it is worse than hell, you can say. The samskaras are not spent, so the ghost keeps on hovering in the gross world in order to experience the samskaras through somebody else. And that is why we say that somebody is possessed with that ghost. But we are not again going into that region. What we are talking about is that once we drop the body, after 3 to 4 days, sometimes the connection lingers till about 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 days. That is the time when we call our family, friends, and eat a nice sumptuous lunch and dinner, whatever it is, with a little booze and everything. And then it's all over. After that, in my reading, Baba says the soul has no connection, and therefore any type of ceremony, religious or otherwise, does not affect the soul. It has no meaning. That's my reading. There's no need for any kind of ceremony. Now this soul, according to the prepondering samskaras, when I say prepondering, which is heavier, the good or not so good? Assuming that my right hand, which is good, is prepondering, that means good, then I will go to heaven. Go to heaven, it is not a place. It is not a locale. You cannot Google search or GPS heaven where it is, map, it will take you. No. It is what you can say is a very active state of mental conditioning where you experience joy and happiness in a very for a very long time, depending upon how many samskaras you are imbalanced about. In the process of enjoying the heaven state, we are actually utilizing the samskaras and the pen. You know what is pen? Taraju we call it. Coming up. It is about to be balanced. At that time, you have to wait for your reincarnation. So here the sentence Baba says, where is it? Waiting is it? The spirits, disembodied souls, both good and bad, have to remain in the state of waiting. So those 8, 10, 12 days is waiting till you go to the heaven or hell state. And when about to be balanced, again you are in the queue waiting to reincarnate. And this reincarnation automatically as we say, sanskarically, you tend to take birth in the country, in the continent, in the city, in the family, based on your residual samskaras, where according to the samskaric calculations, you will be best suited to be born in a certain place, in a certain family, where you have got past connections, so that you can utilize and spend those samskaras. Same goes for the hell state, right? So in heaven and hell state, we use much of our accumulated samskaras in this life. If I have done a lot of good things, I will enjoy the state of heaven, which, as I said, is a mental state. If I have done a lot of bad things, I will enjoy, in a sense, suffer the state of hell. And if I remember Baba at the time of breathing our last, then you don't have to go through heaven or hell. You straight away go to Baba and enjoy infinite bliss eternally. 4 more minutes to enjoy.
Shall I take it?
You want to read?
The world supplementary.
No. Supplement is a long thing. We'll come to that later on. Any questions?
So small it is.
Okay, Soumya is saying it's a small supplement, 37, page number 275. Okay,
The world of the astral.
1 minute. 275.
There is no astral world as such.
Oh, this is a long, huh?
Oh,
270, 275. It's a long one.
no.
Okay, Soumya wants to complete this particular. So now, I'm just saying, it's on page number 275. We are reading supplement number 37. That is where we will stop. So next time we'll come back to the original reading. Go ahead, Soumya.
The world of the astral, supplement 37. There is no astral world as such. The astral world is not a portion of the subtle world. However, in between the gross and the subtle worlds, there are 7 sheets which form the so-called world of the astral, and this serves as a link between these two worlds.
We have done this 7 sheet. So that is the astral world. Elsewhere, Baba has given an example of an egg. You know, everybody eats egg. I hope so. I don't know. The shell of the egg is like a gross. The white of the egg is the subtle. And the yellow is the mental. But if you closely see, with closeness, you will see a very thin membrane between the shell and the white. Thin, very thin layer between the shell, that is the astral. So it is not a part of the white. In other words, it is not a part of the subtle, it's the astral. The go between the gross and the subtle.
A gross conscious soul may be said to have an astral body which links the gross with the subtle. The astral may be called the imprint of the subtle over the gross, which imprint is neither gross nor subtle.
So each of us, besides having a gross body, also has the astral body. All right? When we are in gross.
In sleep, in the ordinary dream state, one experiences the impressions of the gross world with the subtle body subconsciously and not with the astral body. All experiences in the world of the astral, explained through the medium of the astral body, are as insignificant as dreams.
Okay. In the dream state, we are using our subtle senses. My eyes are closed, but I am seeing something. Don't you see? In dream you see. My mouth is closed, but I am speaking something. My ear is, obviously, I am dreaming, but I can hear something. So which are the senses which we are using? I am not speaking, but still I am speaking. And my eyes are closed, but since I am seeing. So that is where subconsciously we are using the astral senses. Here I'll read this. In sleep, in the ordinary dream state, one experiences the impressions of the gross world. The dreams are always connected with gross world. With the subtle body, subconsciously. With my subtle body, subconsciously, I am dreaming something connected with the gross world. and not with the astral body. I'm not using my astral body. All experiences in the world of the astral, experience through the experience. That means after I drop my body, I will be using my astral body, and all the astral experiences, which mean the heaven and the joys of the heaven and the suffering of the hell, are all an illusion. Experience through the medium of the astral body are insignificant as dreams. It has no meaning.
After disembodiment, the soul experiences the world of the astral in the astral body. This may be said to be the astral journey of the soul.
That means when I have a gross body, I have an astral body. When I so-called die, I drop my gross body and I go into the astral world with my astral body.
Which is
I
similar to the
experience,
body. Which is almost similar to the gross.
which is almost similar to the gross body, and I experience everything with my astral body. And then when I have to come back again and reincarnate, I drop my astral body over there, take another gross body along with a new astral body. Clear? Go ahead.
When the soul gets embodied, the astral body is shed.
When the soul gets embodied means when the soul gets reincarnated.
This astral body is shed, and with the new gross body, it gets a fresh astral body. But as long as it does not get embodied, its subtle and mental bodies undergo the experiences of the state of heaven or hell through the medium of the astral body, in accordance with the impressions that were accumulated while it was in an embodied state.
While I was in an embodied state, whatever accumulation of samskaras are there, the good, the bad, I will experience in the disembodied state, experiencing the heaven or hell.
The spiritual path begins only with the involution of consciousness, when the soul begins to experience the first plane of the subtle world,
That we know, involution path means first plane, okay.
and not when it just has access to the astral phenomena from the gross world.
Many people have access to the astral phenomena while I am in the gross world. Clairvoyance, clairaudience, levitation, mind reading, whatever that. But that doesn't have any meaning whatsoever.
At the stage when the soul experiences fully the first plane of the subtle world, the astral sheath that linked the subtle with the gross is snapped for good.
So the astral body remains together with the gross body as long as I am gross conscious. The moment I enter the subtle plane, my astral body snaps once and for all, never to come back again. So now here we stop at page number 276. Any questions? No questions. Fantastic. All right. Thank you, Baba. Thanks to all of you. Avatar Meher Baba ki Jai. Thank you, Baba. Jai Baba.